Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, originally released in May of 2003 for the Game Boy Advance, is currently available on all modern platforms through the Castlevania Advanced Collection, which retails for $19.99. This was the third and final Castlevania released for the Game Boy Advance. As with the other two, this was a Metroidvania-style Castlevania. You play as Soma Cruz, a transfer student who somehow finds himself in Dracula's castle. Shortly after arriving in Dracula's castle, Soma discovers that he can absorb monster souls and get the abilities of the monsters. It's sort of like if Kirby looked like the lead of a teen drama. Various monster souls have all kinds of different effects. They might give you an attack, or fiddle with your stats in some fashion. They might make Soma transform, or allow you to summon a familiar of sorts. And as you might expect, some are far more useful than others. And there are puzzles throughout the game that will require the use of specific souls. And as there's no guarantee you'll get a soul from an enemy, you will spend a lot of time killing the same enemies over and over again trying to collect their souls, which I imagine will get infuriating for a completionist that wants a full soul collection. But honestly, once you find an attack soul you like, it might be best to just stick with that, as you can only have 3 souls equipped at once. One that gives you an attack, one that affects your stats, and one that does something else when you hit the R button. Though realistically, many of the attacks are completely worthless, the stat slot can also affect your movement abilities, such as letting you walk on water or move freely underwater, so you'll rarely actually have a stat-affecting soul. And if you're like me, you'll completely forget about pressing the R button ever, so you'll never use whatever's equipped there. But despite what I'm saying here, this system is actually very good, and did get recycled into other Castlevania games, as well as some games that are, technically speaking, not Castlevania. In addition to equipping souls, you have regular equipment. In fact, there are many different types of weapons you can choose from. Swords that are very quick but have a limited hitbox, axes and hammers that you do a large overhead swing with, spears that are a bit slow but have a large hitbox, and many other things. And some weapons are more suited to some situations than others. And of course, your personal preferences will play a role in what you're using. Your slower weapons, like your axes and hammers, have huge attack power, but you are somewhat vulnerable while swinging them. Your smaller weapons might have less power, but you can use them much more quickly. So, try out a few options, see what works for you. Now you might be wondering why exactly Soma ended up in Dracula's castle. Well, it turns out that his ability to take souls of monsters is actually part of Dracula. Dracula would very much like this ability back, but it's alright because some characters that are from other Castlevania games are here too. You end up with a pretty interesting story by the end, and there are several endings you might get. But is Castlevania Aria of Sorrow worth your time and money? Even though it has been 2 decades since this first got released, it is still very much worth your time. And it is still one of the finest Metroidvanias you can get your hands on. It's actually cheaper to play this game now than it was on its original release. And it doesn't hurt that for the $20 it'll cost you to play this, you get 2 other excellent games with it, and also Dracula X for some reason. So yes, I absolutely recommend playing Castlevania Aria of Sorrows, and I wouldn't even have you wait for a sale to do so. Please do subscribe, comment, like, and tell your friends.